KJ and Lyons on WEEI.
Yeah. Let that rock, Turpin. Let that rock.
Even if you don't dig it, don't mean it's not the thing to do. Could be just for you.
KJ and Lyons, WEEI. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. Still to come, Bets to the Future, the third annual Jive Turkey Awards. And we're 2 minutes away from Keith Smith of Sport Track and, of course, the NBA front office show. John, that Celtics game last night was so tough to watch, not because of the lack of production, but the seeming greed of the NBA in this tournament, right? Like, you're going to put on a newer court in Toronto, a place that's right off of a lake, and the weather is a little bit different at this time of the year. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the courts in general, too. Like, the Celtics, the first time ever they don't play with the parquet is in their first in-season tournament game. Like, the concept of the in-season tournament, I'm not necessarily against overall. I don't love it, but the court's just kind of killing me so far.
Well, the thing is, how do you sell the court as, it's one thing with these City Connect jerseys. Okay, you can put them in a store. What, are you going to put a court in the store now? Like,
yeah, and by the way, with the City jerseys, how long is it going to take for the Celtics to make a jersey based off the water tower next to 93 North? Like, can we get one of those? You know what? You know what would be a good one is where they found the bodies of one of Whitey Bulger's bodies under the Dorchester police station some years ago. Like that would be a good one. Like the 90, like the expressway, like just the big expressway with cars sitting. The Pistons can do one where they found Jimmy Hoffa's body. Right?
Yeah, or dead parquet, piece of dead parquet on the jersey. Yeah.
I'm sure Keith is listening, very excited to get on with us after that. Yes.
Yeah. In fact, let's go ahead and bring in Keith Smith. Keith, thank you so much for joining us here on KJ and Lyons. There's improv, there's sports talk, there's music, there's a lot, but we appreciate you being here, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm with you on the water tower jerseys. Those are the ones I've been waiting on too, and we haven't gotten them yet.
All right, we have another person in the movement for the water tower jerseys. I've been waiting for those for years. Keith, thanks for joining the program. I want to start off here. The two biggest things the Celtics did this offseason, they bring in Kristaps Porzingis, they bring in Drew Holiday. Porzingis, he's averaging 19-6 so far this year. Holiday, 13-7 with 5 assists a game. I mean, they've been, from my eyes, they've been really, really good. But I wanted to get your take on it, someone that covers the Celtics, the NBA. How would you assess their fit with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White and the rest of the Celtics so far?
Yeah, it's come together a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. I thought we were going to have a chance that we might be 20 games into this and the Celtics were, 12-8 or 10-10 or something like that. Because anytime you're asking two guys, and Porzingis and Holiday, who have always been nothing more than the number 2 guy on their teams, to step in and turn into, all right, hey, here you're going to be 3rd, 4th, even 5th. Some nights, options, that can be kind of bumpy. And the other guys figuring out, all right, how do we make sure we get them enough touches while getting ourselves enough to be in rhythm and those sorts of things. It could be bumpy, but we've seen the sacrifice. Al Horford going to the bench. Tatum and Brown are ceding some shots. Derek White's ceding some shots. And Porzingis and Holiday are basically stepping in. And I think they're just at the point of their careers where for them, it's all about winning now. They've kind of had the other accolades, but they want to compete for titles. Holiday's been there, and I think Porzingis would like to be.
And Keith, so far the numbers tell us the Celtics are the best team in the NBA. They have a 10-2 record, which is the best in the NBA. They have the best point differential in the NBA, the best net rating in the NBA. For your eyes, though, I mean, there's Denver's really good. Phoenix just got healthy. Do you think the Celtics are the best team in the NBA right now?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think they are. I think when we watch them, they are playing the best. It's not hard to see that when you watch them go against some of these teams. And I think one of the big things is they're figuring out how to win games. Last night, great example. They weren't great last night. They went through it in the third quarter. It looked like a mess. And I believe in the last year or so, that's a game they would have kind of let completely, fitter away. And we would all been like, what in the world? You blew a 16-point second half lead. What happened? And all those things. But they stayed composed. They got back under control, and they came away with a win. And when you're blowing teams out, that's one thing. It all feels great and everything like that. But winning games like that, where you kind of refigure it out, you come back and get a big win, that's absolutely huge. So I think, they're winning different styles, fast-paced, high-scoring, slow down, grind it out kind of stuff. They're really playing well.
KJ and Lyons on WEEI. Got Keith Smith with us from the NBA front office show. Keith, so I've always felt, and I think many of us do, that the Celtics are going to be, if you will, in a Final Four when it comes to the NBA playoffs. You mentioned about Al Horford moving to the bench. I like what Sam Hauser has been able to do to kind of save face as that stretch shooter. I believe that at the end of the day, when it comes down to the playoffs, that the Celtics are going to need a distributor and potentially a rebounder from the backcourt that can also defend. Talk me off of a ledge of saying that maybe Russell Westbrook could be the missing piece once you get towards the playoffs as a bench piece, not as a scorer, but as a distributor, a rebounder, and a defender.
Yeah, I can't get there with you. I apologize on that one. I think the problem is he can't shoot. And in the playoffs.
But he doesn't need to shoot if you've got Tatum Brown.
But he doesn't need to shoot.
Yeah.
But you're going to put whoever's defending him is just going to play off him, and they're going to make it harder on everybody else. When we get into the playoff series, it's anybody's weaknesses are magnified. If you're small and can't defend, you're going to get played off the floor. If you can't shoot, you're generally going to get played off the floor, and the challenge comes. I get it. He doesn't need to, but it's going to be what happens with the guy who's defending him. What he's going to do is he's going to drop into those cutting lanes. He's going to double. He's going to make life harder on Tatum and Brown. And we've seen Tatum and Brown are still learning how to be playmakers against double teams and the like. I don't want to do anything that makes it that much harder on them to get there. I think they've got enough ball handling and playmaking with guys like Derek White and Drew Holiday and defending. Russ isn't a great defender at this point in his career. He gambles for steals, and that's about what he has going for him. He doesn't really do a whole lot else. So I think you really, you'd rather be more with your solid guys that that can do things, and White and Holiday. And I think what you'll see when we get into the postseason, the rotation will really shrink down. It'll probably be the starting five, Horford, Hauser, and maybe Peyton Pritchard, maybe somebody else plays a little bit off the bench, but it's going to be those guys are going to be going 35, 38, 40 minutes a night, in the playoffs, and that's generally, where they should be. And in some ways, that's almost better for the Celtics because you're going to shrink down the rotation and remove some of the guys who have some of those weaknesses.
Okay, I'm not going to let it go because you could. So if you had to say in a crunch time situation with the backup out there, would you rather have Russell Westbrook or Peyton Pritchard in a key playoff situation? And the reason why I mention those two because their money's matched, right? If you sent him to the Clippers would have to take all of the money, and you would just have to take the remaining money of Russell Westbrook, but you would be off of his contract at the end of the year. Because we can all agree that the Celtics are in a win today situation, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you take Peyton Pritchard or Russell Westbrook in a key playoff moment?
So I guess my question is why is Holiday and White not the guys on the floor, right? Well, if we're saying it, because there was an injury or something like that, well, that's a whole other story, right? Then we're starting to talk about, all right, well, maybe we need to look at things a little bit different. But, to be quite honest, at this point in their career, with the way the rest of the Celtics are built, I'm fine with Peyton Pritchard out there because I know he hasn't shot it well this year, but I think he'll shoot well. I don't think he's any worse than Russell Westbrook is as a defender. And you're not, again, I'm not taking the ball out of Tatum, Brown, or even Holiday or White's hands, or even Porzingis or Horford for that matter, to say, hey, Russ, go create something for us. It's just not what I want to do. He's just not that player at this point in his career. He hasn't been for the last couple of years, and that's why you see him doing things like, hey, I'll take a bench role now with the Clippers because I think he realizes, hey, my role here is to be, a 20-minute-a-night backup kind of guy, and hopefully, I can juice the offense when I'm in there running the show versus playing with a whole bunch of guys who need those touches.
We're talking with Keith Smith here. And Keith, thank you, by the way. I've been trying to articulate that to KJ for like 2 months now, but you said it better than me in the last minute and a half. So
that you would rather have Peyton Pritchard on the floor
that Westbrook's
in 8
not
key
the
minutes.
answer. Yes,
Okay.
I've been trying to. But, Keith, the biggest additions the Celtics made this year, you mentioned Holiday, Porzingis, right? But not far behind that, to me, They add Charles Lee to the coaching staff. They add Sam Cassell to the coaching staff, guys who in their own right could be head coaches in the NBA to kind of solidify the staff behind Joe Mazzulla, and some felt even if Mazzulla faltered to potentially replace him. At 10-2 with the Celtics winning close games, winning blowout games, how would you assess Mazzulla's growth from the end of last season through 12 games this year?
Yeah, I think he was asked to do something really hard last season, and myself included in this. I don't think enough of us really recognized how hard it was what he was asked to do, which was, hey, a few days before training camp opens, guess what? You're going to coach the team now that was in the finals. Make sure you figure it all out. Don't screw it up. And that's really hard, right? Like that wasn't his job. And beyond that, the rest of the staff had lost some guys, and then Damon Stoudemire, his top guy, left with a month to go in the regular season. So it was a difficult spot for him. So, yeah, adding Cassell and Lee, I think, have given him a couple more guys he can lean on that have been through it. They've kind of been there. Cassell also has that voice with the players of, hey, when you're going through this stuff, I've been there. I've been in those moments that you're in right now. I know what it's like to have a shooting slump, or what it's like to, feel a little sluggish and those kind of things. And I think that's all, really important stuff to have those guys. And Mazzulla didn't have those guys to lean on last year, especially after Damon Stoudemire left. So I think we're in a spot with, him. I think what we've seen growth-wise is there's no more real kind of snap reactions. I thought last year he was on the extremes. It was either I'm going to trust my guys to play through everything, no matter how bad it got, or we're going sideways. I'm going to sub guys out, and that's why we hit the middle of the season. It's like, wait, I don't know, we're going to make it all the way end here with Tatum and Brown and all these guys playing 40 minutes a night. It was getting to be a little bit too much. And I think this year around, what he's done is he's done well as far as kind of being in a spot where, all right, I've got my rotations. I'm going to kind of stick and trust my rotations, and I'm going to not overreact to things. And I think that's been big too. I don't necessarily agree with the offensive approach, as much as some of the others do. But I think Porzingis has helped add, something that they didn't have before. Holiday's getting down inside and working, and I think that's helping a little bit to give the offense the balance it needs.
Keith, I wanted to ask you about some of the other teams that are in the Eastern Conference that are a part of the equation. Joel Embiid made his comments the other night saying that the Celtics are the best team, and people tried to knock him for it. I get what he is saying, because I think what he's saying, we're not there yet. But with Milwaukee, are you concerned about Milwaukee as you get down later into the season? All things considered, no injuries, everybody's healthy. Does the size bother you like it bothers me that Milwaukee has?
A little bit. I think the challenge is we know Al Horford will do what he can against Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's done a good job. I'm by no means going to suggest he shuts him down and stops him, but he's done a good job. The other two guys who have done the best job against him have been Grant Williams and Marcus Smart, and they're not here anymore. So we're going to have to see, is Drew Holiday. They put him on Joel Embiid, direct in the game the other day. Then he did okay. He kind of held up all right for moments of that game. But we'll see. Are they going to do that with him on Giannis? We've seen Jaylen Brown at times take turns on Giannis, and I think that's almost a better place. I think Jaylen Brown's a much better on-ball defender than he is an off-ball guy. Off-ball, I think his attention wanders and he gets a little bit lost. So I think, you've got options. But, yeah, that part of it worries me. If their Bucks are going to continue to play the style of defense they're playing now, their size doesn't really bother me on defense, because they've got Brook Lopez playing out 30 feet from the basket at the level of the ball. And I get it. Adrian Griffin, the new coach there, he's trying to do some different stuff. He's trying to, I think, experiment a little bit here in the early months of the season, knowing, hey, if we need to, we can go back to the defensive style the last few years, and I can feel good that we have that kind of in my back pocket if I need to pull it. But I want to see, can we master this, hedging and recover type stuff? And it's asking a lot of Brook Lopez, and that's why they've really struggled defensively. Also, Damian Lillard's just not a good defender at this point in his career. He was, for a little bit there, he's a passable average guy. Now he just isn't good at all. So that's another thing where teams now have an attack point where they didn't have that before.
Keith, beyond Philly and Milwaukee, who we've talked a lot about, and we know they're good and will be good eventually, Is there another team in the East that you think the Celtics should be really worried about? I mean, is it Miami because of the institutional thing? Is it Cleveland because of Donovan Mitchell? Or is there somebody completely different that if you're the Celtics that maybe you're not totally scared of, but that you really got to keep your eye on?
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say Orlando, given the struggles they had with the Magic last year, but that doesn't feel overly realistic. I think they'd be okay. But, yeah, so it's Miami just because of the history there, and I think sometimes the talent imbalance is made up with the Heat kind of knowing, hey, these guys get tight at the end of games. We don't, and if it's tight with 2 minutes left, we feel like we're going to out-execute them and make something happen. Now, 2 years ago, the Celtics figured it out and got to the finals. Last year, they didn't quite figure it out and couldn't get through the Heat. So I think that's the only other team that jumps out at me. But it feels like that Miami team is shallower than they have been. It doesn't feel like they have a real way to make in-season moves to correct some of the stuff. So I'm not super worried about them like it has been in past years. For me, it's more about primarily it's about, are the Celtics playing the way they can and doing the things they should be, and are they healthy? If they are, I like their chances against anybody in the East. But if I'm looking at the other teams, it's Milwaukee, then a tier break, probably then Miami, and then another tier break. And then I put Philly there just because, the Celtics, every time with Philly, they're kind of what Miami is for the Celtics. The Celtics have become that for the 76ers.
Keith Smith, NBA Front Off Show contributor as well as Sport Track. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on KJ and Lyons, man. Have a great Saturday.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah, John, I'm not coming off of that square of Peyton Pritchard for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, we call that you're take committed.
It's not even a take, right? Because
I don't mean it as like it's a take. Right, but it's like you believe it and you're committed. You believe it.
Right. It's part of like, I don't want to say it's part of my commandments, but it's like if you're going to win today and Peyton Pritchard is not hitting shots and Hauser is, right? So you say, okay, well, they'll just leave Russell Westbrook open where he can always just pass to the one who's not double teamed, right? The thing is he hasn't had a Tatum and Brown on the outside to get to. Now, I'm not saying that he's the closer.
He does
That's Drew Holiday.
Kawhi and Paul George, though. I know what you're saying about Tatum and Brown.
They have James Harden. That's a problem. That thing is going to be that thing's going to break up faster than the Beatles.
How much better are the 76ers with just Tyreek Maxey balling out instead of having James Harden there?
Well, because James Harden, he just takes away space.
Right? He held them back. If I'm the Sixers, I feel a lot better just not having Harden there, regardless of what they got for him. Just that, hey, now it's the Maxey and Embiid show. I feel a lot better about them if I'm a Sixers fan than I did when Harden was there.
Right, and if you're the Clippers, you realize that all four of those guys are not going to be there by the end of the year. And you probably say that one person is going to be Russell Westbrook. Why? Because between Harden and Westbrook, those guys have more on-sale markdown jerseys than anybody in the NBA combined, right? Because, Houston ones, those are for sale. Oklahoma City ones, those are for sale. These guys have been places. And I think if you want to take a shot and saying we have to win now, and this is what we may be up against, especially in a guard-heavy West, let's say you're running up, like if you want someone to just tire Jamal Murray out, I think you would be okay running Russell Westbrook out there for 10 minutes to frustrate him, to just give Drew Holiday a breather, because I would be concerned if you're playing 5-6 Celtics 40 minutes, almost 40 minutes a game every night. That's going to catch up.
Yeah, and to me, I think the Celtics' bigger need, and the thing I'm watching more, front court depth. And I know, look, a lot of people say, oh, what championship team, what playoff team really has three good bigs? And I understand that, but your best big has had some injury history, right, in Porzingis. Right. Your next best big in Horford is, 37, and he'll be 38 by the playoffs. Right. So I still think, and Luke Cornett, I think, has been pretty good this year, but that's
pretty good ain't gonna cut it.
That's the point I'm watching, is that I feel like there's going to be a playoff game or two where they're going to need that third big to give them some valuable minutes. It might not make or break a championship, but it's
what that feels like you're saying, John? We're going to need Marcus Smart to hit some shots here in a playoff game.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that worried. I'm not that worried. Trust me when I say I'm not that worried. But I think it's, last year it felt like they brought in Mike Muscala at the trade deadline to be that guy, and it didn't work out. I think now, if Cornette's that guy, great. And again, when I say, they might need one game that Porzingis isn't fully healthy, or Horford needs a lot of rest in the second round, and they need to play Cornette a lot of minutes, and that could make a difference, through the rest of your playoff run. That's why I'm watching, the guards, whether it's Pritchard, White, Holiday, and you can even throw like Jaylen Brown can handle the ball, and Jason Tatum. Like, so I'm not as worried about. I'm worried about that other big besides Porzingis and Horford. Is it going to be Cornette? Is it going to be somewhere outside the organization?
Will have to be outside, I think.
Yeah, probably. Unless, I mean, look, credit to Cornette. He has played well, but I don't know. Does that continue between now and May? I don't know.
KJ and Lyons, WEEI still to come. We'll talk about the increased Shohei Ohtani talk, and I'm not Nostradamus or anything, but I will show you that I am. Plus, we'll get into more Patriots talk. So thank you so much for hanging out on a Saturday.